Keywords. Pure and refreshing writing, personal orientation, daily life, urban life, transformation, student, campus, cultivation, and imagination. Have you ever thought about becoming stronger? For Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan junior high school students, it was already a desire that was beyond their reach. They were cowardly, with poor academic performance, isolated and oppressed in class, bullied by thugs outside of school, and dared not resist. It was not until one day that they unexpectedly obtained the black technology of the extraterrestrial, Praseodymium laser star, called Praseodymium laser crystal source, which gave them unimaginable power. From then on, they began to reverse their life's path of counterattack, defeating thugs, overcoming the culprit, establishing prestige in the class, winning brothers and sisters, and even discovering that Jingyuan can transform them into a more powerful monster. Coincidentally, aliens from the Praseodymium Radium star came to plunder the crystal source and retrieve their treasures, and a battle quietly began. Chapter 1. Preface. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the deep universe about 15 million light-years away from the solar system, there is a mysterious planet called Praseodymium Radium star hidden. The birth of this planet can be traced back to 2.3 billion years ago. Similar to Earth, it also surrounds a star. X.987 ZS, also known as Moyen star. Praseodymium radium stars have suitable orbits and cosmic environments, with stable orbital and rotational cycles, providing favorable conditions for the birth and development of life. However, unlike Earth, the surface of Praseodymium radium stars is covered by vast liquid water bodies, accounting for 95% of the planet's total area. Although the land area is relatively scarce, it has not had a significant impact on the evolution of Praseodymium radium star ecological civilization. On the contrary, due to the abundance of water resources, the aquatic organisms of Praseodymium radium stars are diverse and vibrant. About 150 million years ago, a life form called simple intelligent organisms emerged on the Praseodymium radium star. Most of these organisms live in water and have evolved through continuous evolution, ultimately forming what we call humans. On Praseodymium radium stars, they are called hunting species. Due to environmental factors, the aging process of hunting animals is relatively slow, with a lifespan of about 300 years and a body size about twice that of normal humans. The brain development speed of hunting animals is exceptionally fast, which has enabled them to achieve remarkable cultural achievements in a short period of time. Compared to human beings on Earth, the civilization level of Praseodymium radium hunting has been elevated by multiple cosmic levels. They have not only achieved fruitful results in natural and supernatural disciplines, but also made significant breakthroughs in the field of space transportation. Various light-speed spacecraft and light-year-speed spacecraft have been successfully developed and put into use. The historical evolution of Praseodymium radium stars has certain similarities with Earth, and has also undergone a long period of sedimentation and civilization development. Yuan century, 13,029.7022 BC, Mega century, 7,021.1030 BC, Chengshi, 1029 BC.5723 AD. Anhui century, Maiyuan 5724 present. In the distant trillions of centuries ago, most of the hunters on the Praseodymium radium planet lived in water and had unique kidney-lung dual breathing functions, which allowed them to breathe freely in the water. Therefore, they were accustomed to establishing tribes and kingdoms in the water. These hunting groups occupy large areas of the sea, and due to their lifespan of hundreds of years and extremely fast reproduction speed, the number of praseodymium and radium hunting mouths in various regions has sharply increased, leading to serious shortages of resources and environment. In this context, various tribes were plunged into continuous warfare. With the passage of time, in the early centuries, the number of praseodymium radium hunters finally stabilized, and the war gradually subsided. At this time, there are only 8 powerful tribes left on the Praseodymium radium star. Mibing Han, Yochio, Duanshi Gue, Dark Ring, Yenke Rice, Bigong, Mishuan, and Shen tribe. These tribes began to cease hostilities, restore productivity, establish independent countries, and develop unique cultures. In the mid-century, the leader of the Yuxuan tribe decided to take further action by sending envoys to various countries to lobby, hoping that they could form an alliance and jointly establish a unified federal state under the rule of law. However, this proposal was not smooth sailing, and many leaders expressed protest and distrust towards it. This controversy has lasted for over 100 years. During this period, due to the fact that various countries are located in closed economies, the level of development varies. Until 100 years later, those countries that had opposed the alliance finally could not bear the pressure from all sides and were forced to agree to the alliance. When discussing the name of the new alliance system, the heads of 8 countries all hoped to include their own country's name. After a long period of discussion and compromise, they finally reached an agreement. Each country would take one character and combine it into the Yudunmian by Sun Tu Alliance Republic, abbreviated as the Yumeng. The Yuxuan tribe was selected as the capital location due to its highest comprehensive national strength. At the beginning of the Anhui century, Yumeng began to deeply integrate the diverse strengths of the 8 countries in terms of economy, technology, military, education, and aerospace. They not only formulated a unified family planning policy, but also innovatively introduced a new common language, currency, and size measurement standard, aiming to shape Praseodymium Radium into a more modern and diversified society. At an important moment at the beginning of the Anhui century, the leaders of various countries jointly elected a leader with the most outstanding comprehensive strength among them through mutual voting, giving him the honorific title of Hunting King, for a term of 70 years. The other leaders serve as auxiliary ministers, jointly contributing to the prosperity and stability of the Praseodymium Radium star. In 70 years, these 8 ministers will once again gather together to elect a new king of hunting through voting, ensuring a smooth transition of power. Time flies. When the year 5924 of the Meiyuan era in Anhui arrived, Yumeng welcomed the 21st hunting king. This year, a storm swept over Mo Yanxing, bringing unprecedented disaster to Praseodymium Radium. The people's lives are facing difficulties, and King Gersho feels deeply responsible. After the storm, he decisively decided to weaken the power of the nobles in the Yumeng and use more resources and wealth to support the disaster-stricken Praseodymium and Radium people, helping them rebuild their homes. However, this decision angered the most powerful family in the aristocracy, the Reister family. At that time, the ruler of the Reister family was named Reister Namo. He not only held the important position of deputy captain in the Yumeng army, but also inherited the vast family business of his father, Reister Carter. In the Yumeng, he was once a magnificent presence. However, Gear's coming to power and his new policies completely broke this situation, making Namo feel an unprecedented threat. With the implementation of the Gear policy, the salary of the Reister family was reduced by a full 10 times, and the taxes and fees of ordinary Praseodymium and Radium people, who were originally contracted by the nobility, were also completely abolished. This series of changes has made Namo feel angry and hopeless. In order to maintain the interests and status of his family, he decided to unite with several other aristocratic forces to jointly plan an assassination operation against Gur, attempting to usurp the throne and regain their power and glory. In the year 5927 AD, Namo, the leader of the Reister family, led a mutiny in Bigong City. He led his loyal subordinates to massacre the officials of the Yumeng without any hesitation, with the intention of taking down Yuxuan City in one fell swoop. However, he did not anticipate that King Gur's strength far exceeded his imagination. Although Namo tried his best to confront King Gur, he was defeated, captured, and imprisoned in just 1 week. Originally, King Gur intended to impose extreme punishment on Namo, but considering human nature and tolerance, he decided to give Namo a chance to reform and imprisoned him for a full 100 years. During this long imprisonment, Namo deeply reflected on his past and looked forward to one day regaining his freedom. In the year 6027, Namo finally welcomed his long-awaited release from prison. He eagerly contacted his former comrades with the intention of launching another rebellion and overthrowing King Ge's rule. However, he was also aware that with current strength alone, it would be difficult to compete with King Ge in both military and technological fields. Fortunately, Namo came from a wealthy family and used the wealth accumulated by his ancestors to secretly recruit talents. He not only purchased a large number of high-tech weapons, but also attracted many top scientists and military experts from Praseodymium laser to join his camp. Although King Ge had already acquired some assets, Namo still held a considerable wealth, providing a solid material foundation for his revival plan. In the dark, Namo constantly expands his sphere of influence, secretly trains his army, and prepares for the final battle against King Ge. His ambitions and plans gradually surfaced, and a new storm was about to set off on the Praseodymium Radium star. After 10 years of in-depth research, Dr. Weiren, a leading microbiologist in the field of Praseodymium Radium, has finally made a breakthrough discovery in the gene of Praseodymium Radium hunting. He found that there is a huge hidden danger in the DNA of Praseodymium Radium hunting, which is the potential for phagocytosis, meaning it has a high possibility of being degraded by some unknown DNA. The importance of this discovery is self-evident, and Weiren immediately compiled it into a paper and published it in the Praseodymium Radium journal, hoping to raise awareness throughout the planet. By chance, Namo came across this paper and a bold idea flashed through his mind. He decided to use this genetic defect to develop a genetic virus as a new weapon against King Ge. In order to implement this plan, Namo spared no expense in establishing a top-notch laboratory and introducing various high-end scientific research equipment. In order to receive Weiren's help, Namo sent a large sum of money to Weiren's home and strongly demanded that he join the research team. Although Weiren initially firmly refused, believing that creating a genetic virus could lead to the extinction of Praseodymium Radium starfish, he had to compromise under the pressure and temptation of Namo. The pressure of life and the safety of his family prevented Weiren from adhering to his principles, and in the end, he was forced to obey Namo and began this dangerous research. After months of arduous exploration, Weiren finally found the source of this DNA enzyme, which exists on a planet in another distant galaxy. Earth. Despite the distance, the spacecraft needed to fly for 15,000 years to reach, but Namo did not give up. He patiently waited for more than 40 years until the completion of the solar system's wormhole in the year 6067 of the Gregorian calendar. So they embarked on a journey to Earth, hoping to find a crucial breakthrough in their revenge plan. They flew in the wormhole for a whole 35 days, finally crossing the vast interstellar space and stepping into the territory of the solar system. Immediately after, they flew to Earth without delay and finally landed on a remote mountain peak. At that time, during the Jingyuan period of the Tang dynasty, on the Tiancha mountain near Luoyang city, moonlight shone and the villagers at the foot of the mountain were not yet asleep. They were shocked by this sudden behemoth. A spaceship from a distant galaxy. The villagers went up the mountain one after another, hoping to find out what was going on. However, shortly after the landing of Namo and others, the Yumeng received an urgent warning. To ensure the safety of hunting wormholes in the Milky Way that are lower than the Praseodymium Radium civilization, starting from tomorrow, all such wormholes will be permanently closed in one direction, allowing only Praseodymium Radium hunting to return to Praseodymium Radium from other galaxies and prohibiting further travel to lower civilization galaxies. The promulgation of this bill means that many galaxies, including the solar system, will no longer be open to Praseodymium Radium stars. Faced with this sudden change, Namo deeply understands the urgency of time. He immediately ordered Weiren and others to collect DNA samples from 6 different animals within a day and must leave the Earth before the wormhole closes in one direction. Weiren and his assistant Codis dared not slack off at all. They immediately took action, hiding in the mountains and forests, weaving through the dense forests of Tiancha, and even venturing into the remote plain at the foot of Tiancha mountain. After more than 20 hours of arduous search, they finally managed to gather 6 animals that met the characteristics of Praseodymium Radium hunting. Wolves, foxes, eagles, bears, lions, and cats. After everything was ready, Wei Ren began a tense experiment. They hunted and killed these animals, carefully removed their brains, and separated the nuclei and extracted DNA through meticulous operations. Subsequently, using advanced genetic engineering techniques, they fused the DNA of Praseodymium Radium with the DNA of these 6 animals. However, it was shocking that at a critical moment in the experiment, all the DNA of Praseodymium Radium was broken. Wei Ren stood in front of the laboratory door, his eyes becoming deep. The experimental results in front of us show that the DNA enzyme that can cause the extinction of Praseodymium Radium does exist in the DNA of these animals. For safety reasons, he decided to store the DNA of these animals and Praseodymium Radium in the form of energy crystals, which can only release their energy under specific activation conditions. As the night deepened, the fuel and energy of the spacecraft gradually ran out. Namo stood in front of the boat window, his eyes burning with flames. He ordered Wei Ren to dispose of all excess and bulky waste materials to reduce the load on the spacecraft and ensure a smooth return. These experimental equipment, each one of them is the result of Wei Ren's hard work, but he cannot disobey Namo's command and can only watch them be discarded. At this critical moment, the appearance of several humans on Earth shattered this heavy atmosphere. Looking carefully at them with a grinder, he was surprised to find that apart from animals, these Earth creatures had astonishing similarities in morphology and appearance with Praseodymium Radium. They were obviously intelligent creatures. After careful consideration, Namo believes that they, like those animals, have enormous research value and may even have a significant impact on the study of crystal sources. Under his heart's beat, he gritted his heart and cruelly killed these human beings on Earth. As Wei Ren witnessed all of this, his inner pain surged like a tide. He could no longer tolerate Namo's cruel behavior, stood up suddenly, and strode forward to snatch Namo's gun. In the fierce dispute, the only person left took the opportunity to escape. Wei Ren's efforts ultimately failed to change the situation, and he was quickly subdued by the subordinates of Namo. Anger overwhelmed Namo's mind, and he lost his sanity and publicly shot and killed Wei Ren. When his subordinates reminded him that no one could help him study the crystal source, Namo woke up like a dream. He shook his head, took a deep breath, and said, "Let's go. This is the only way we can do it. We'll figure it out when we go back." Due to leaving in a hurry, Namo forgot the bodies of those Earthlings. When the spaceship successfully escaped from Earth and crossed the wormhole, he was still immersed in the joy of victory. However, he quickly remembered Jingyuan and quickly opened the box to count. Seeing that the 6 crystal sources were intact, he felt relieved and smiled proudly. King Gel, you wait for me." He picked up one and prepared to appreciate it carefully. However, at this moment, the crystal source suddenly cracked and turned into fragments. Namo was shocked and instantly realized the seriousness of the situation. He angrily grabbed Cadiz and questioned him, but it was only under severe torture that Cadiz revealed the truth. Originally, this was a trick that Wei Ren secretly confessed to him before his arrest, and the true 6 crystal sources have been hidden on Earth. At this moment, Cadiz suddenly pulled out a small bomb from his pocket and roared, "You killed my mentor. I will never forgive you, you bastard. You can never get the crystal source and return to the Praseodymium Radium star to die." With a slight explosion, Cadiz broke free from his restraint and fled to the escape capsule disabled. He quickly started the spaceship and raced towards the direction of the Earth. When Namo arrived at the escape pod, he found that Cadiz had already escaped. He angrily and painfully pointed at the Earth and cursed, "Bastard. Wei Ren, Cadiz, I and you are not compatible." At this moment, they had already driven into the wormhole. Looking back, they saw that the 1-way wormhole was tightly closed. And the escaped villager spread rumors of aliens invading Earth and harming Earthlings, causing great panic among the local people. In order not to disturb the Emperor, the local officials responsible for investigating the matter quickly blocked all information and executed those who knew about it. The former historian of the Tang dynasty, Jingyuan, currently serves as the local village chief and is dissatisfied with the handling of higher-level officials. He didn't want the truth to be buried, so he secretly gathered villagers and formed an underground organization called the Foreign Object Group, aiming to conduct in-depth research on extraterrestrial phenomena. Cadiz fled to Earth with scars all over his body. He knew his life was coming to an end, but he persisted with his last bit of strength. He arrived at the place where he had previously hidden the crystal source and dug out the 6 intact crystal sources. With all the information about Jingyuan that Weiren had researched, he limped towards the village. In the end, he collapsed at the village gate later. When Jianyu led the villagers up the mountain to investigate, she discovered Cadiz, who had already died. Beside him were scattered manuscripts and exquisite boxes, containing 6 unique and unknown crystal sources like diamonds. Jianyu gazed at these crystal sources, her heart filled with confusion and curiosity. What secrets are hidden behind these crystal sources and extraterrestrial creatures? He decided to uncover these truths and seek justice for the deceased villagers. So, Jianyu renamed the Foreign Body Group as Kangzhe, symbolizing to keep these secrets about the crystal source deep in her heart and pass them on from generation to generation. He secretly established a separate sect dedicated to studying the mysteries of these crystal sources and passing on these secrets to future generations. He believes that only through continuous research and exploration can the mysterious veil of these extraterrestrial creatures and crystal sources be finally uncovered. Chapter 2. Ordinary Days, Part 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The time has come to early April 2019. Shen Linghao is a second-year student of Changzhou-affiliated middle school, with a slim physique but not short height. He has an introverted personality and always chooses to silently endure the bullying of external bullies, afraid to easily resist. In school, his academic performance is not ideal and he is often ridiculed by his classmates and neglected by his teachers. At home, his position is also quite awkward. Because his younger sister Shen Wenqi's character and grades are always better than his parents always compare them, which makes him feel that he can never be compared to his younger sister at home, and also makes his parents more inclined towards his younger sister. Despite this, Shen Linghao has an unwavering ally. Yuxuan. They live in the same community and have been classmates since elementary school, growing up together until middle school. Although in the eyes of teachers and classmates, Yuxuan, like Shen Linghao, has poor academic performance and often causes trouble, his parents' divorce has dealt him a great blow, making him appear insecure and decadent in life. However, Shen Linghao has always been by his side, constantly giving him encouragement and support, gradually helping him overcome the shadow of his parents' divorce. The profound friendship between Shen Linghao and Yuxuan is built on the basis of mutual support and companionship. They spent many happy times together and also faced many difficulties and challenges together. This experience made them cherish each other's friendship even more, and also made them stronger and braver. Although their academic performance is not outstanding, their friendship has become the most precious asset in their lives. On an ordinary morning, Shen Linghao's alarm clock unexpectedly ran out of battery and lay quietly by the bedside, without a sound. His parents saw him still asleep, and due to time constraints, they hurriedly took his sister Shen Wenqi to school, leaving only breakfast and some change on the table. Shen Linghao was immersed in a sweet dream until Yuxuan's phone rang rapidly, awakening him from his dream. He picked up his phone in a daze and asked vaguely, "What's wrong?" Yuxuan's voice came anxiously, "Hurry up, brother. If it's any slower, you'll be late." Shen Linghao rubbed his eyes and asked in a daze, "It's still early. What time is it now?" Yuxuan reluctantly replied, "It's already 7 o'clock, you haven't gotten up yet." Upon hearing this, Shen Linghao suddenly woke up and said, "It's 7 o'clock, you're lying down. It's over, Yuxuan, please leave first, don't wait for me." Although Yuxuan was a bit worried, he still agreed, "Then hurry up." After hanging up the phone, Shen Linghao immediately panicked and put on his clothes, rushing to the bathroom. He hurriedly finished washing up and only found that there was no one at home when he walked out of the bathroom. The alarm clock is broken, no one is waking him up, and breakfast has already cooled down. The change left by his parents was particularly eye-catching, and Shen Linghao felt a sense of loss being ignored by his family in his heart. He didn't care about so much and hastily took a few bites of breakfast before running out of the house in a panic. Arriving at the carport, he saw Lei Yuxuan still standing there, waiting for him. Shen Linghao was surprised and said, "Oh my goodness, buddy, why are you still here?" Lei Yuxuan replied with a smile, "I'm still waiting for you. You really thought I had left?" Shen Linghao was filled with gratitude in his heart, and he said with some guilt, "How can we do that? I even implicated you in being punished together." Lei Yuxuan waved his hand boldly and said, "What are you afraid of? They are all brothers, and besides, do I still receive less punishment?" Shen Linghao sighed deeply, and he firmly said, "That's okay. Let's go, then I must treat you tonight." Lei Yuxuan smiled happily and said, "Wow, that's okay. Brother Hao will personally pay for it, let's go." When Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan arrived at the classroom panting heavily, it was already a whole minute late. Unfortunately, this class happened to be the morning self-study session of homeroom teacher Wang Qing. Teacher Wang Qing had just had an argument with his wife this morning and was extremely upset, but these two students happened to hit the gun barrel. Wang Qing's anger erupted in an instant, and he shouted a few angry words before deciding to punish them for running circles. Originally, the matter should have ended here, but Lei Yuxuan felt unwilling and whispered, "Isn't it just 1 minute late? As for how important it is." Unfortunately, this sentence happened to be heard by Wang Qing. He asked sternly, "Oh. According to what you said, do you still have reason?" Lei Yuxuan replied without fear, "This is not reasonable in the first place." Wang Qing became even angrier and shouted, "Lei Yuxuan, how dare you talk back? If you're late, it's against the school rules. Go down and run 10 laps for me. When you get up, stand behind me and don't have to attend class. Each person writes a 500-word guarantee letter, promising not to be late again in the future." Lei Yuxuan wanted to refute, but Shen Linghao saw the seriousness of the situation and quickly grabbed him to advise, "Let's go, brother Shen, don't make things worse." After the two of them left, laughter rang out in the classroom. This made Wang Qing's mood even worse. He vented all his anger on the students and shouted, "Why do you laugh? You like to laugh." Today, everyone in the class added an essay. The whole class exclaimed in shock, "Ah!" Wang Qing angrily said, "Ah what? If you want to blame those two latecomers. Also, morning self-study doesn't end, today 2 Chinese classes are in class, preparing for the exam." At this moment, Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan, who were running circles outside, were unaware that their classmates had already developed resentment towards them. After running a few laps reluctantly, Shen Linghao was about to go back when he was stopped by Lei Yuxuan. Lei Yuxuan said anxiously, "Wait a moment, I'm sure I'll be messed up by someone surnamed Wang again when I go back. I really don't want to be embarrassed anymore." Shen Linghao nodded and agreed, "You're right. By the way, Lao Wang said yesterday that there seems to be a Chinese exam today, so it should be 2 classes in the morning." Lei Yuxuan exclaimed, "Isn't that right now?" Shen Linghao said helplessly, Lei Yuxuan suggested, "Then why don't you go back and skip 2 classes? It's not a big difference whether we take the Chinese exam or not, neither of us." Shen Linghao laughed and said, You're really a loser." "That's okay, where are we going now?" Lei Yuxuan thought for a moment and said, "Go to the restroom on the 5th floor of the East District, which is quite far from the office and our classroom. By the way, have you brought your phone with you?" Shen Linghao nodded and said, I brought it." Lei Yuxuan excitedly said, "That's great. I also brought it. Let's play games together, and I just went to Starlight yesterday. Shen Linghao smiled and said, "All right, then I'll play a few dishes with you. You'll have to eat a few more dishes of chicken with me then." Lei Yuxuan readily agreed, "All right, listen to you, Howie, let's go." In this way, the two good brothers escaped Chinese classes and exams, played games in the toilet on the 5th floor of the East District, and temporarily forgot about the troubles of campus life. In the blink of an eye, the time for two classes quickly passed, while Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan seemed completely immersed in the world of games, unaware of the passage of time. As the bell for the end of class was about to ring, teacher Wang Qing's anger had already dissipated. However, when he realized that the two had not yet returned, a hint of concern surged in his heart. So he quickly assigned 2 or 3 students to search for them, with Sports Commissioner Hidingzhe leading the way. Hidingzhe has always had prejudices against Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan, not only looking down on them in terms of grades, but also sneering at their character. Therefore, he gladly accepted the search mission and prepared to take the opportunity to give them some color to see. Wen Fan and Li Yuhe share the same thoughts as Hidingzhe, and are full of hostility towards Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan. The three of them first arrived at the playground and looked around, hoping to find the figures of the two. But after a search, they found nothing. Then, they went to the woods in the East School to continue searching, but still did not find any trace of the two. Wen Fan couldn't help but guess, these two people are not really skipping school, are they? Li Yuhe, however, believed that this possibility was unlikely and sneered, skipping school. They didn't have the courage. They probably just hid in a corner and didn't dare to come out. Hidingzhe suddenly had an idea and guessed, maybe they're in the toilet. He thought this was the only reasonable explanation. So he made a decisive decision. Let's go take a look at the restroom. The three quickly arrived at the restroom on the floor of their class and began to search carefully. They searched every compartment and corner, but still couldn't find the figures of Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan. Hidingzhe couldn't help but feel a bit strange. Where did these two people actually go? Li Yuhe continued in a contemptuous tone, they must be hiding somewhere and not daring to come out. They are really two cowards. Hidingzhe did not give up his determination to search. He calmly analyzed, so, Wen Fan, you go to the upstairs restroom to look, Li Yuhe, you go to the downstairs restroom to look, and I will go to the next floor to take a look. Remember, you must look carefully and not miss any corner. The three of them quickly took action, hoping to find the traces of Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan as soon as possible. They searched all the way down the stairs, but never found the figures of the two. This made Hidingzhe and others even more confused and puzzled. Where did these two people go? After several people's carpet search, the entire floor still couldn't find the traces of Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan. Hidingze's patience had worn out, and he angrily cursed, these two stinky kids have really put a lot of effort into me. At this moment, Wen Fan had a sudden idea and proposed a new clue. Brother Zhe, in my opinion, we might as well go to the floors in the East District to look. As far as I know, there are only toilets on the 4th or 5th floors in the East District, which is a distance from here. Will they run there? Hidingzhe nodded and said, okay, then let's go there and try our luck. If we still can't find them, we'll report them to the teacher for skipping school. Li Yuhe also agreed, okay, that's it. When they arrived at the Eastern District, Hidingzhe gasped for breath and ordered Wen Fan and Li Yuhe, Wen Fan, you go to the 5th floor to search carefully, while Old Li and I will search near the toilet on the 4th floor. After that, the three quickly divided into actions. At this moment, Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan are fully immersed in the fierce battle of the chicken-eating game, with cheerful laughter constantly spreading. Coincidentally, as Wen Fan passed by this place, he accidentally caught their laughter. After careful identification, he was convinced that it was the voices of Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan. Upon seeing the situation, Wen Fan immediately ran out to search for the other two people. Although his shout was not loud, it was still vaguely captured by Shen Linghao. Linghao followed the sound and looked out through the crack in the door, only to see Wen Fan standing outside. Linghao quickly gestured to Lei Yuxuan, "Look, is it Wen Fan outside?" Lei Yuxuan was surprised and put down his phone, saying, "Damn it, what's wrong? I was about to shoot." Shen Linghao nervously said, "It seems to be Wen Fan outside, and we seem to have been discovered." Lei Yuxuan also became nervous and said, "This is broken, isn't it Wang Qing who sent him to find us?" Shen Linghao said, "It's very likely. What are you listening to him?" Lei Yuxuan perked up his ears and listened carefully. "It seems like he's calling someone." Shen Linghao said, "Oh no, we need to find a way quickly." Lei Yuxuan said, "Yes, run." They carefully planned a quietly departing operation, taking advantage of the gap between Wen Fan's search outside and gently opening the door, preparing to escape the scene. However, just as they were about to succeed, Wen Fan, Li Yuha, and Hidingzhe unexpectedly arrived and formed a perfect encirclement, blocking them at the door. Faced with sudden changes, Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan couldn't help but feel flustered in their hearts. However, they did not give up resistance as a result. Lei Yuxuan quickly reacted and decisively pushed Wen Fan away, while shouting at Shen Linghao, "This way." Then, the two of them fled the scene like arrows departing from the string. Wen Fan regained his senses and immediately shouted and cursed loudly, engaging in a fierce pursuit with Hidingzhe. They pursued closely and never relaxed. However, Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan skillfully avoided the pursuer's sight by shuttling between the floors with their excellent speed and agile skills. They ran all the way from the 5th floor to the 1st floor, and cleverly took a detour to the 3rd floor. Their speed is beyond the reach of the pursuers. In the end, Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan successfully shook off their pursuers and hid in a miscellaneous classroom. In the miscellaneous classroom, they waited cautiously, constantly alert to the outside noise. After a long wait and confirmation that the outside was safe and sound, they dared to cautiously leave the classroom. However, just as they were about to return to the classroom, the bell for the end of class suddenly rang. Hidingzhe appeared like a ghost at the corner and grabbed Shen Linghao's sleeve. Upon seeing this, Lei Yuxuan immediately rushed forward to rescue Shen Linghao, but Wen Fan and Li Yuha ambushed him from behind, firmly subduing him to the ground. After a fierce struggle, Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan were unable to break free from their constraints. Hidingzhe laughed proudly and mockingly pressed Shen Linghao against the wall, saying coldly, "Aren't you quite capable of running? Why don't you run now? Because of you two, everyone in our class has to write an essay. Be honest, come with me to see Wang Qing." In the face of Hidingzhe's ridicule and threats, although Shen Linghao was angry in his heart, he could not break free from his constraints. Lei Yuxuan was also powerless to resist, and could only watch helplessly as they were escorted to see the homeroom teacher. Old Wang had just finished class and was about to leave the classroom when he saw Lei Yuxuan and Shen Linghao being escorted in by Hidingzhe and others. At this moment, Lao Wang's heart was calm. He walked up to the two of them and asked softly, "Where have you two been?" As the leader, Hidingzhe immediately replied, "Teacher, they were hiding in the restroom playing with their phones and were caught by us trying to escape." Lei Yuxuan countered, "They're not looking for us. They're clearly catching us and even tampering with us. Besides, we're not even playing with our phones." Upon hearing this, Wen Fan became anxious and said, "You're talking nonsense. I heard you two chatting and laughing while playing games." Lei Yuxuan showed no weakness and said, "Then you have the ability to search." Hidingzhe and others immediately conducted a thorough search of Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan's pockets, but found nothing. Wen Fan looked puzzled and said, "It's strange, it's obvious." At this moment, old Wang spoke up and advised, "Forget it, since the person has already returned, don't pursue it anymore. Anyway, it's best not to bring your phone to school, let alone let me discover it. Also, my words may have been a bit heavy this morning, but the teacher just hopes that you can arrive at school early. Also, please take the Chinese test paper on your desk home and do it. Li Yuha sighed and said, hey. It's all over, it's still going to take so much effort. Old Wang continued, it's okay, we need to get along well with each other. By the way, could you please inform everyone that there's no need to write the essay? Wen Fan responded excitedly, okay, teacher. He Dingjia also agreed, okay. Old Wang smiled and said, that's it. Everyone has dispersed and is ready for the next class. Before Shen Linghao left, he apologized to Old Wang, Teacher Wang, I didn't do something right with Yuxuan today. Lei Yuxuan also sincerely said, Teacher, I was really wrong and shouldn't argue with you. Old Wang said with tolerance, it's okay, as long as you know your mistake and can correct it. Remember to arrive at school early in the future, especially the two of you, and remind each other. I hope you can focus on your studies and not be too lazy. Lei Yuxuan solemnly promised, received, teacher. I will remember it. Lao Wang added, that guarantee letter must be written as a reminder to you, and it's not too many words. Shen Linghao gratefully said, okay, thank you, teacher. Finally, Lao Wang advised, don't forget to do the Chinese exam. As the crowd left, Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan hurriedly rushed to the miscellaneous room and eagerly took out their phones from the position pressed at the bottom of the box. Shen Linghao exclaimed, Brother Shen, you are so smart and prepared. You were already prepared. Lei Yuxuan smiled proudly and said, of course, everything should be prepared. Did you forget? That time in the first year of junior high school, we were also set aside by that Dingjia. Shen Linghao suddenly realized, oh, yes, I remember. I was really slow at the time. When you suggested hiding my phone in the miscellaneous room, I was still confused. Lei Yuxuan laughed heartily and said, it's okay, Haozi. Today we played 2 classes happily, just like taking a short long vacation for ourselves. Shen Linghao nodded repeatedly and said, yes, it's worth thinking about. When the two of them returned to the classroom, Dingjia stood in front of them and said impolitely, I'll spare you this time, but if there's another time, I won't show mercy. With your sneaky appearance, who knows where you hid your phones? They haven't been found yet. It's really unlucky. After that, he impatiently returned to his seat. Lei Yuxuan looked at his back and said to Shen Linghao, judging from his arrogant demeanor, he really deserves to be beaten. Shen Linghao responded calmly, oh, forget it. Today was our fault, and ignoring him is the best way to deal with this kind of person. Chapter 4. Spring Tour. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In Shen Linghao's dream, a majestic figure quietly appeared, like a warrior made of steel, carrying both the wildness of a wolf and the wisdom of a human. He took a closer look and saw that the figure was covered in steel bars and iron plates, as if it were a mechanical creature coming from the future world. With a low voice, it called out, Linghao, Linghao. With this call, the picture of the dream gently flipped, and Shen Linghao's thoughts were pulled back to his distant childhood. It was a sunny afternoon, and Shen Linghao and his friend Lei Yuxuan went to the zoo for an adventure. They shuttled along the path shaded by green trees, filled with curiosity about the unknown. However, the teasing of fate happened unintentionally. As they approached the fence of the wolf pack, a majestic wolf suddenly pounced on Shen Linghao, its bloodthirsty mouth wide open, as if it was about to devour everything from him. Shen Linghao woke up in shock and found himself sweating profusely. He gazed at the palm of his hand, where there was a faint scar, the mark left by Wolf Fang, and also a witness to his childhood memories. Recalling that thrilling moment, he couldn't help but feel 1,000 emotions. At that time, he and Lei Yuxuan were still young and reckless, ignoring the regulations of the zoo. They secretly prepared food and wanted to have intimate contact with the animals. Shen Linghao ran towards the wolf pack, while Lei Yuxuan went to the lion area. The two were immersed in their interaction with animals and gradually relaxed their vigilance. However, just as they were lost in thought, danger quietly arrived. Shen Linghao's palm was bitten by a wolf, while Lei Yuxuan's arm was also torn by a lion on the other side. This accident left a profound mark on their childhood. The two individuals were vaccinated against rabies separately, and their parents almost fell out over this matter. In the end, their parents banned their interaction with each other. After middle school, Lei Yuxuan's family underwent changes and he chose to live with his mother. And Shen Linghao's little sister gradually grew up, and his own position in the family became less important. The next day, Shen Linghao walked into the school with a nervous heart. Unexpectedly, old Wang seemed to have gradually forgotten about inviting his parents. Shen Linghao secretly felt relieved that a stone in his heart had finally landed. Linghao also learned after inquiring around that the school was going to organize an autumn outing, and the entire school was busy with this matter. The class teachers were no exception, and it is likely that Wang Qing was also forgotten about this. As the morning self-study was nearing its end, Wang Qing walked into the classroom and announced, "Classmates, there is good news. I think you should also know that the day after tomorrow, our school will organize an autumn outing on the second day of junior high school. The destination is Tiancha Mountain in Huaihe City, Changzhou Province, which is about 60.70 kilometers away from here. We will hike from the foot of the mountain to the mountainside, where, especially near the foot of the mountain, is the former residence of Tang Dynasty Minister Jianyu, which contains profound cultural heritage and is very worth exploring and appreciating. The specific content and precautions will be sent to you later." After a pause, Old Wang continued, "Also, let me talk about the specific requirements of the autumn outing. Each group of 4 people forms a group, and each group selects a representative to stay in touch with me at any time and report on the situation of the group members in a timely manner. I remember a classmate got lost and was trapped in the forest during the last autumn outing, so I don't want such a thing to happen again. Additionally, we need everyone to bring their own lunch and bring more food, as we will be staying outside for a period of time. Of course, everyone can bring their phones tomorrow, but please try to avoid playing with them, appreciate the surrounding scenery more, and take more photos as a souvenir. Finally, I would like to emphasize that personal safety must be taken into account during major household chores. Once encountering a dangerous situation, please contact me or the police immediately. Alright, I won't go into more detail about other matters. Class Monitor Su Yeshu, please send everyone the autumn outing matters and the parents' notice. You can go back and fill it out." Alright, class is over now. In an instant, the whole class began to engage in heated discussions. Lei Yuxuan turned to Shen Linghao and exclaimed excitedly, "It's so great. Finally, this day has arrived." Shen Linghao nodded melancholically and responded, "But I always feel like I don't have much presence in class. Why do I talk about autumn outings?" Lei Yuxuan tried to comfort him, "Don't be like this, you've at least gained love now." Shen Linghao was a bit dissatisfied and said, Go. Then, Lei Yuxuan suggested, "To be honest, besides us, should we find 2 more people? It's a bit dull every time we go on a spring outing." Shen Linghao asked in confusion, "Who would like to join us?" Lei Yuxuan pondered for a moment, then pointed to the 2 people and said, "So. How are the 2 of them?" At this moment, Zhe Wanshi pulled Zhao Curson to Shen Linghao's side and asked with concern, "Shen Linghao, has your injury improved?" Shen Linghao was a bit surprised, but still shyly replied, It's okay, it's just a minor injury." Zhe Wanshi continued to ask, "So, if we were to group for the autumn outing, would you still be in pairs?" Shen Linghao nodded and said, yes." Zhe Wanshi continued to propose, "Oh, if you don't mind, you can join us." Lei Yuxuan immediately responded excitedly, Okay, that's settled." Zhao Curson was somewhat dissatisfied and said, "Oh, it was Shen Linghao who asked, but not you." Lei Yuxuan quickly explained, "I'm not." "Hey, Howie, please show your composure." Shen Linghao hesitated for a moment before saying, This. Didn't you guys go with Lu Xingyao and Zhang Yuqi before?" Zhao Curson explained, "Damn it. Neither of them will come, and Xingyao and her husband will go together. Lei Yuxuan was surprised and asked, I'm going. Lu Xingyao has a boyfriend. How come I don't know, who is it? Zhao Curson reminded him to keep a low voice and said, you don't know yet. Don't even announce it to the class monitor, it's just last week. Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan were shocked and spoke in unison. Lu Xingyao and Su Yeshu, they. Zhao Curson reminded them to keep their voices down again. Hey, tell you to keep your voices down. Also, hurry up and decide whether you want to join us or not. Shen Linghao finally made a decision. Okay, I'll do it. Zhe Wanqi said happily, that's settled. When you get on the bus, you two will sit behind us. After dispersing, Zhao Curson excitedly took Zhe Wanqi's hand and said, Wanqi, you're really with Linghao. I didn't feel like asking yesterday. Zhe Wanqi replied shyly, oh my. Don't mention it again. Zhao Curson joked, oh my, why are you so cruel? How could you make me feel like a single dog? I don't want to be the electric bubble between you two. Zhe Wanqi comforted, Curson, don't think so. I think you and Lei Yuxuan are quite compatible. Zhao Curson shook her head and said, you said him, how could he be? He. Hey, class is coming up soon, we'll talk later. Zhe Wanqi nodded with a smile, okay. We'll talk later. The day of spring outing finally arrived, and Linghao and Yuxuan arrived at the school early. Then, Zhe Wanqi and Zhao Curson also arrived one after another. After all the students arrived, teacher Wang Qing organized them to board the car in an orderly manner and select seats. Zhe Wanqi held Zhao Curson's hand and together they chose the front seat, then gestured for Linghao and the others to sit behind them. As the vehicle started, the tour guide began to explain the history of Tiancha Mountain to everyone. Shen Linghao, Lei Yuxuan, Zhe Wanqi, and Zhao Curson sat together, forming a team to play the chicken-eating game and listening to the tour guide's explanation while playing. Although the bumpy vehicles made playing games a bit dizzy, it was the first time Shen Linghao had such a great time playing with the girls in his class. After a long drive, they finally arrived at their destination. Shen Linghao and the others got off the car last, but after getting off, Shen Linghao still felt a bit dizzy. Accidentally, he collided with a tall young man and an old man. However, the two of them did not notice Shen Linghao and walked straight forward. At this moment, Shen Linghao accidentally saw the map that had fallen to the ground. He quickly picked it up and glanced at it, guessing that it should be from those two people just now. Linghao glanced up at the distance and found that they had already gone far, while the tour guide was gathering his team. Shen Linghao had to hide the map for now, study it himself, and then find an opportunity to send it to them. The tour guide warmly introduced the statue of Jianyu in front of the gate, saying, classmates, this is a famous local figure, Jianyu. It is said that he once served as the grand historian of the Tang dynasty, but due to the discord in the officialdom, he lived in seclusion in the mountains and forests, devoted himself to theology and astronomy research, and wrote historical books such as Crystal Objects and The Mystery of Apes. Now, let's continue to move forward and explore more stories about him. However, Shen Linghao was not completely immersed in the tour guide's explanation. He took out a map and carefully examined it. Lei Yuxuan approached curiously and said, Hey. Haozi, where did you find this map? Shen Linghao responded casually, oh, someone else dropped it. Lei Yuxuan asked after him, when did it happen? Why didn't you return it quickly? Shen Linghao shrugged and said, they have already gone far away. Wait a moment, don't rush to say, how do I feel like this? Seems like a treasure hunt map. Lei Yuxuan widened his eyes and said, what? Let me take a look. This looks a bit like it. You see, this is the gate painted here, and this is the statue of Jianyu. Going further is Tiancha Mountain. Shen Linghao nodded and said, yes, can this place with circles halfway up the mountain be a mineral or treasure? Yuxuan frowned and said, even if it's a treasure, how can we find it? It's too simple to paint. Shen Linghao thought for a moment and said, forget it, let's ask the tour guide. Maybe it's just an ordinary guide map. Yuxuan hesitated for a moment. Wait, I don't think it's appropriate. If the tour guide sees something mysterious or a treasure, they will definitely question where we got the map. If we can't come up with a reason, wouldn't they just join forces with the locals to take our map? Shen Linghao smiled and said, are you overthinking it? It's just a map. What kind of mystery can there be? Don't be suspicious. Let's go to the vicinity of Tiancha Mountain when we disband later. Yuxuan nodded and said, all right, then put it away first and follow the team. Zhe Wanqi and Zhao Curson watched as Shen Linghao and Yuxuan muttered behind them for a while, then curiously leaned in. Zhe Wanqi asked, what are you doing? It's mysterious and mysterious. What are you holding? Yuxuan quickly waved his hand. It's nothing, nothing. However, Zhao Curson's curiosity did not diminish. Hey! Don't hide it, take it out and take a look. Shen Linghao helplessly took out the map and spread it out. Alright, don't rush. I picked up a map and it feels a bit like a treasure hunt map. We're talking about going to the location marked on the map as Tiancha Mountain when we're free to move around later. Zhe Wanqi widened her eyes and said, hey. Where did you pick it up? It's so interesting. We also want to go see it with you. Shen Linghao nodded and said, okay, but you need to be careful. It said online that there were wolves around here before, although I don't think it's possible, it's better to be careful. Yuxuan smiled disapprovingly and said, you're talking about wolves. There isn't even a dog here, where do wolves come from? Don't be suspicious. After speaking, he turned to Zhao Curson and said, by the way, Curson, will you go? Zhao Curson replied without hesitation, of course I want to go too. What's wrong? Do you think I'll be afraid? Yuxuan smiled and said, okay, that's settled. Let's go on an adventure together later. Chapter 7. Mysterious Organizations. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Yuxuan and others successfully boarded the bus, they secretly felt fortunate in their hearts. Shen Linghao smiled at Yuxuan and said, good kid, you didn't lie to me. Zhe Linghao asked curiously, Yuxuan, what exactly is that little thing you just threw away? Yuxuan replied easily, oh, it's Xiaoming's bottle cap. Zhao Curson couldn't help but laugh and said, ha ha ha, Yuxuan, you're going to laugh at me. After the bus arrived at the station, many seats were vacant. Shen Linghao warmly invited, Xianyi, come and sit down quickly. Zhe Linghao asked with concern, Shen Linghao, is your wound okay? Do you want to rest for a while longer? Shen Linghao waved his hand and smiled, no need, I've been lying for so long, and I also want to stand. Yuxuan asked Curson nervously, Curson, aren't you sitting? Zhao Curson asked in confusion, ah. Are you talking to me? Shen Linghao smiled and joked, when did you start addressing me so intimately? Zhao Curson coquettishly said, what's wrong? Do you have any objections? Shen Linghao pursed his lips and pulled Zhe Wanqi to sit in the empty seat at the back. He whispered, okay, I won't disturb you anymore. Yuxuan explained awkwardly, this kid, he just said he won't sit. Curson smiled and compromised, since the seat is available, I'll sit down. Yuxuan shyly said, Curson, please come first. Curson joked, what's wrong? Suddenly becoming so gentlemanly. Yuxuan said helplessly, since you want to sit, I won't stop you. Zhao Curson insisted, no need, you should sit. When Shen Linghao and Zhe Wanqi were chatting, they couldn't help but comment, they are a perfect match. It seems they are destined to be together. Zhe Wanqi nodded and agreed, I also think they are a good match, but Curson often complains, which is just right. Shen Linghao smiled and said, yes, how can we always be alone when the four of us are together? After receiving the intelligence from his assistant, the middle-aged man immediately dialed the phone and said, President Chu, we have found out that they are students from the first affiliated school of Changzhou. At the same time, Shen Linghao had just stepped into his home when he received a call from old Wang. Before Lao Wang could finish speaking, the phone was snatched by Xiao and he said, why did you leave early? The transcript hasn't been completed yet. I'll tell you, I'll meet you at school tomorrow. Shen Linghao sighed helplessly and walked into the bedroom with a tired expression. At this moment, Shen Wenqi had just finished her homework and saw her brother coming back. She smiled and joked, hey, brother, where have you been these days? Why did you tie yourself up? Dad only said something happened to you. Shen Linghao waved his hand and said impatiently, don't ask, it's okay. Shen Wenqi asked curiously, by the way, won't your parents come back tonight? They left a few dozen yuan for us to go out and eat. Shen Linghao rubbed his eyes and sighed, where are we going to eat? Oh, I'm exhausted. Forget it, let's order takeout. Shen Wenqi disagreed and said, don't, let's call your close friend and my sister.in.law first. Shen Linghao became anxious upon hearing this and said, what sister.in.law? Where did you hear this? Don't talk nonsense. Shen Wenqi smiled proudly and said, I've seen both of your photos on my phone, it's called intimacy. Shen Linghao's face changed and he said, did you peek at my phone? Shen Wenqi said innocently, it wasn't me who peeked. When you took a shower, your phone wasn't turned off and the page stopped on QQ. Then Lei Yuxuan sent a photo. Really, you two are too close, right? Shen Linghao was momentarily speechless, but he didn't expect Lei Yuxuan to secretly take pictures of them at the school hospital. He sighed helplessly and said, Yuxuan, this kid actually secretly filmed us. Forget it, don't tell my parents. Let's go, I'll go make an appointment right now. When they walked downstairs, Lei Yuxuan had been waiting for a long time. He walked forward with a smile and said, oh, the siblings are both here. By the way, Zhao Kersen and the others can't come. They need to go for extra classes. Shen Linghao nodded in understanding and said, oh, well, let's go find a place nearby to eat first. As the three of them walked and chatted, Shen Wenqi suddenly whispered to Lei Yuxuan, hey, what's going on with the photo of my brother and his girlfriend? Lei Yuxuan stopped and asked in surprise, ah. How do you know? Wenqi smiled proudly and said, I saw you when you sent the photo to my brother on QQ, tell me quickly, what exactly is going on? Lei Yuxuan hesitated for a moment, then explained with a smile, actually, it's nothing. It's just that Haozi got into a fight with someone and was beaten to the point of lying in the medical room. And? You understand. Shen Linghao helplessly added, can you pick the point? It was someone who bullied the girl first that I started. Wenqi widened her eyes and said, wow, you're so brave. By the way, have you kissed? Lei Yuxuan nodded and said, of course you did. Wenqi jumped up excitedly and said, that's amazing, brother. Why didn't you tell me? Lei Yuxuan asked in confusion, why do you care so much about them? At this moment, Shen Linghao interrupted their conversation and said, stop talking, let's go eat at KFC. Lei Yuxuan and Wenqi both agreed. However, as soon as they walked into the gate of KFC, they were noticed by several people in the distance. Those few people were the ones who came to them during the day to ask for crystal source, and there was also an older person. Seeing these urgently sought-after children reappear in front of him, the elderly person's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. Although they dare not act recklessly anymore, they still decided to observe and discuss countermeasures in secret. Perhaps it was fate's arrangement that allowed these children to meet again at a critical moment. Lei Yuxuan found a comfortable seat and smiled lightly, saying, Shen Wenqi, tell me about your situation. How are you? Do you have a boyfriend? Wenqi was instantly shy and stuttered, Linghao joked, sister, who were you chatting with the night before yesterday? Wenqi nodded and said, Shu, brother, don't tell your parents. Lei Yuxuan smiled and said, ha ha ha, don't worry, your brother definitely won't do it. Wenqi turned around and joked, brother Yuxuan, both of us siblings have been separated. And you must also have one, right? Lei Yuxuan touched his head and said with a hint of shyness, me, how can I say it? Yes, I do, but it's a bit difficult to confess. Shen Linghao asked curiously, worry, who is Xuanzi with? Do you have any ideas? Lei Yuxuan scratched his head and said, you know what you're asking, don't you understand? Shen Linghao suddenly realized, oh, I know who it is. So, come on, haha. Also, do you want me to help you, brother? Lei Yuxuan waved his hand and said, go ahead, just protect your regrets first. Shen Linghao laughed and joked, oh, by the way, what do you want to eat? After speaking, Shen Linghao stood up to pay the bill. After quickly paying the bill, he handed it to Lei Yuxuan and Shen Wenqi and said, you guys talk first. When we call our number, Yuxuan, you go get the meal first, and I'll go to the restroom. I'll be back soon. Lei Yuxuan responded with a smile, okay, Linghao, hurry up and don't leave it in the toilet, otherwise we'll finish all the delicious food. The middle-aged man noticed Shen Linghao getting up and leaving, but was stopped by an older person just as he was about to get up. The older person smiled and said, let me go, I believe I can persuade him. So the older person stood up and walked towards the toilet. In the restroom, he saw Shen Linghao washing his hands and walked over to him. While washing his hands, he casually said, child, look at the bandage on your arm, it's injured, isn't it? Shen Linghao paused for a moment and replied, are you? The older person smiled and said, it's an arrow wound, right? It's in the Tiancha mountain cave. Shen Linghao looked at him in surprise and said, how do you know? The older person continued, not only that, but I also know that you picked up a purple crystal next to a corpse. Shen Linghao's heart tightened and he thought to himself, well. They're not here to punish me, are they? Am I guilty of stealing cultural relics? If that's the case, will I be sentenced? But I'm still underage. The older person seemed to see his concern and smiled, saying, child, don't worry, we're not police, and we're not in a hurry to ask you to return Jingyuan, but it does belong to us. He handed Shen Linghao a business card and said, my name is Chu Hao. You can go to the Abandoned Treasure Research Institute to find me, and I will answer all your questions. So, see you then. Shen Linghao took the business card with half a doubt, then looked at the elderly person and found him sitting with the 3 people at the hospital entrance this morning. He felt scared and worried, and increasingly felt that the origin of this stone was not simple. He was filled with confusion and hesitation as he thought about whether to return the stone. At this moment, Lei Yuxuan's voice interrupted his thoughts. Linghao, the meal is ready, come quickly. Shen Linghao regained his senses and responded, oh, here you are. He walked out of the toilet, but his heart was still full of doubts and entanglements about the purple crystal. Shen Linghao returned to Lei Yuxuan's side, eating while continuing to reflect on what had just happened. After they finished eating, he turned around and found that the group had quietly left. Shen Linghao was still in a daze. Lei Yuxuan noticed his abnormality and asked, what's wrong? I've been absent-minded since I came back from the bathroom. Is there anything wrong? Shen Linghao regained his senses and shook his head. It's nothing, let's go. However, he secretly decided in his heart, anyway, let's go take a look after school tomorrow. Wenqi curiously asked, what's going on? You're keeping it from me. Also, brother, what about Yuxuan? Tell me quickly. Chapter 9. Team building of 4 people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, while Linghao was still asleep, Yuxuan's video phone suddenly rang, awakening him from his dream. Yuxuan asked anxiously, "Howsy, have you woken up yet? It's already 8:30 now, and we agreed to meet at 9 o'clock. Your wife is also waiting for you. If you don't wake up again, you will be late. How awkward it will be then." Linghao woke up suddenly, feeling completely drowsy. He quickly responded, "What? It's already 8:30. Xuanzi, don't wait for me for now, go quickly. If they arrive, say I'll go buy water for them." Lei joked on the side, the wealthy young master is really generous. Remember to bring me a cup of ancient tea." Shen also smiled and said, "You're good, kid. When you arrive first, ask them what they want to drink, and I'll bring them over later." Yuxuan urged, "Okay, then hurry up. I'll hang up the phone first." At this moment, my younger sister Wenqi also heard their conversation. She sat up curiously and asked, "Brother, are you going to see a movie?" Shen Hui replied, "Yes, but time is a bit tight." Wenqi excitedly said, "I also want to go, take me along." Shen felt a bit embarrassed and said, "But I didn't buy you a ticket." Wenqi insisted, "It's okay, I have money myself, just buy one on site." Shen tried to dissuade, "You're not young anymore, why are you so timid? Don't waste my time, I have to hurry and set off." Wenqi persisted, "No, I must go." Shen shook his head helplessly and said, "Then you can handle it yourself. If you know the way, come find me." Wenqi became impatient and said, "If you don't take me, I'll tell Dad you're in love. I even saved a photo on my phone." Linghao's heart tightened and he felt a bit helpless. "Are you threatening me?" "This is not a threat, and I can't do anything about it," Wenqi defended. Shen Linghao sighed and said, all right, you hurry up." Wenqi said happily, "Thank you, brother." Linghao shook his head and said, "Oh, you're really troublesome. Forget it, let me help you buy tickets. There are still discounts online." Wenqi exclaimed excitedly, "I love you so much, brother." Shen urged, "Don't procrastinate, hurry up and set off." When Linghao arrived at the entrance of the cinema, the time had already pointed to 9:15. He showed a hint of embarrassment on his face, while Yuxuan joked, "Howsy, you've exceeded the time limit this time." Curson also looked at Linghao reproachfully and said, "Hey Linghao, what's wrong with you? Hurry up and coax Wenqi to wait for so long." Linghao was taken aback for a moment and immediately realized his mistake. He quickly pulled Wenqi aside and apologized in a low voice, "I'm sorry, Wenqi. I will definitely arrive earlier next time." Wenqi's face showed a hint of shy blush, and she whispered, "Actually, it's okay, just hoping you can come earlier." In order to make up for his mistake, Linghao quickly took out gumming milk tea from the bag and handed it to Wenqi, saying, "This is gumming milk tea I bought for you, I hope you will like it." Wenqi took the milk tea and smiled happily, "Wow, thank you, Linghao, you are really a good person." Yuxuan walked over with a smile and helped Linghao out of the situation. Actually, Linghao got up quite early today just to buy us milk tea, which caused a delay in his time. "Everyone, please forgive me." Curson listened to Yuxuan's explanation and stopped blaming Linghao. At this moment, Wenqi ran over panting heavily. She complained, "Brother, why are you running so fast? I can't even catch up with you." Curson looked at Wenqi in surprise and asked, "Linghao, is this your sister? She's so cute." Linghao nodded and said, "Yes, she insists on following me, and I can't do anything about it." Wenqi shyly greeted Curson and Wenqi, saying, "Hello sisters." Curson smiled and pulled Wenqi over, and the two began to praise Wenqi endlessly. And Linghao and Yuxuan were left aside by them. Yuxuan smiled at Linghao and said, "The world of women is really not simple." Shen also nodded in agreement. Lei Yuxuan urged, "Hey! We have to go in now. The movie is about to start. Linghao quickly responded, okay, let's go get the tickets first. He turned to Yuxuan and said, by the way, Yuxuan, let me tell you, I had a super weird dream yesterday. At this moment, there was a pair of eyes silently staring at Linghao and them in the dark. In the cinema, Linghao was completely engrossed in watching The Son of the Weather. Suddenly, an inexplicable chill surged in his heart, as if he felt a gaze fixed on him. He turned around and saw the audience fully focused on watching the movie, without any abnormalities. However, the inexplicable tension still lingered with him, so Linghao tightly grasped Wanqi's hand, trying to alleviate that anxiety. Wanqi blushed and asked, what's wrong? Linghao responded softly, I'm a bit nervous. Wanqi jokingly said, Linghao, this isn't a horror movie. Please relax. Shen Linghao responded, it's okay, it's okay. I think the air conditioning might be a bit cold. At this moment, Zhao Kursen turned to Wanqi and said, Wanqi, can you accompany me out for a while? I want to go to the bathroom. Linghao quickly released his hand, and Wanqi also felt a bit embarrassed. Sorry, Linghao, I'll be back soon. Linghao nodded awkwardly and quickly stood up to make way for Wanqi. At this moment, Shen Wenqi sitting behind mischievously smiled and said, brother, are you very disappointed? Shen Linghao pretended to be angry and said, go, go. Yuxuan also joined in teasing, TSK TSK TSK, yes, Linghao, you're all nervous watching this pure love drama. Linghao looked up at the ceiling and said, no, look at this air conditioner, blowing directly at me. It's really cold in this position. Lei Yuxuan smiled on the side and said, Kursen's chosen position is really good. Bringing you two together, not me and her. Oh. Shen Linghao joked, alright, for the sake of milk tea, please feel sorry for your brother. As they walked out of the cinema hall, Lei Yuxuan suddenly stopped and his gaze fell into the distance, with a hint of surprise on his face. That person. Really strange. Shen Linghao asked in confusion, what's wrong? Lei Yuxuan pointed to the distance and said, it's almost 30 degrees today, why is that person still wearing a cotton jacket? Zhao also frowned and said, it's a bit strange, but I feel like I've seen him somewhere. By the way, when I went to the bathroom earlier, I saw that person sitting behind Linghao, a row away. Lei Yuxuan said, this is pure against the heavens. Forget it and leave him alone. Shen Linghao's heart was filled with an inexplicable panic. His intuition told him that the stranger was very suspicious, and even suspected that he was the source of his nervousness when watching movies. However, when he tried to think calmly, he felt that he might have been overthinking. He turned to the crowd and said, it's okay, there's still some time until noon. Where do you want to go for a stroll? Zhao Kursen suggested, there's a shopping mall next to me, and I think it's great to go there for a stroll. Lei Yuxuan agreed, alright, just say what you want. Anyway, Linghao also said he's treating you today, haha. Shen Linghao was a bit helpless. When did I say that? Zhao Kursen explained with a smile, actually, just strolling around doesn't necessarily mean you have to buy anything. And Linghao even invited us to have milk tea this morning. How could you feel too embarrassed to let him spend money again? By the way, Wenqi's sister, do you want to go shopping with us? Wenqi hesitated for a moment, then shook her head and said, no, I still have homework to finish. Brother, why don't you spend more time with your sister? Law. I'll go home first. Shen Linghao suggested, then I'll help you call a car. Wenqi smiled and refused, no need, my home is quite close here. I'll just walk back. Brother, have a good time. Goodbye. Zhao Kursen smiled and waved her hand to Wenqi, saying, goodbye. Then she turned to Shen Linghao and joked, Shen Linghao, how does your sister know about your relationship with Wanqi? Wanqi shyly glanced at Linghao and said angrily, you're really serious. Lei Yuxuan also laughed and said, it's okay. You've all been officially announced, what are you afraid of? Shen Linghao smiled and joked, oh. Lei Yuxuan, who was shouting to me yesterday that they also want to. These days. Lei Yuxuan quickly grabbed Linghao's neck and interrupted his words, cough, Linghao, stop talking. Zhao Kersen asked curiously, Lei Yuxuan, what did you say? Linghao shook his head with a smile and said, oh, you can ask him. Lei Yuxuan looked at Coincidentally with a slightly shy expression on his face. He quickly turned his head and threw himself at Linghao. At this point, everyone was well aware and no longer pursued further questions. They walked towards the direction of the mall together, enjoying a relaxed and enjoyable time. Chapter 13. Enlightening Divine Power. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The noon sun slanted on the street, and Linghao and Yuxuan took advantage of this warm moment to board the bus to the abandoned Treasure Research Institute. The vehicle slowly drove past a few stops, and the scenery outside the window gradually became familiar. Their school was not far away. At this moment, a group of people suddenly rushed into the front door, their footsteps accompanied by noisy conversations, breaking the tranquility inside the carriage. Linghao raised his head sensitively and looked at the group of newly boarded passengers. His gaze wandered through the crowd and suddenly froze on a familiar figure. Li Xiaojie, the thug they had been trying to avoid. A chill suddenly surged in Linghao's heart. He tightly grasped Yuxuan's arm and said in a trembling voice, Yuxuan, who do you think that is? Yuxuan followed Linghao's gaze and his face changed. Oh no, how could it be them? We need to get off the car quickly through the back door before they even notice us. Shen next to them also nervously whispered, keep it down, it's unlucky to run into Li Xiaojie, this bastard. Lei hesitated a bit and said, but with such a big commotion, they will notice. Shen urged, don't hesitate, let's go quickly. However, just as they were about to get up, a thug turned around and saw them. He immediately signaled to Li Xiaojie, who followed his gaze and recognized Linghao and Yuxuan at a glance. A hint of surprise flashed in his eyes, but was soon replaced by anger. Li Xiaojie stood up suddenly, pushed away the younger brothers around him, and jumped out of the car from the front door. He waved his hand and yelled at the younger brothers, get off his mother. One of the younger brothers hesitated and said, but Xiaojie, I bought the ticket. Li Xiaojie impatiently said, shut up, I bought all the tickets, get off the car for me. The other guys saw this and quickly followed along. The bus driver sighed helplessly and closed the front door. And other passengers in the car poked their heads out and curiously watched the scene. Linghao and Yuxuan took the opportunity to slip down from the back door, secretly feeling fortunate to have escaped the disaster. Li Xiaojie jumped out of the car angrily and hurried to catch up with the two fleeing people in front. He kept cursing. You two bastards, stop for me. His mother, stop. Shenlei and Yuxuan felt the urgent pursuit behind them, and their hearts became increasingly fearful and panicked. Although they were not familiar with the road conditions in this area, Yuxuan still led Linghao into the narrow alley. They ran around the alley like headless flies, trying to escape the pursuit of Li Xiaojie and others. After a crazy round trip, they finally temporarily got rid of their pursuers. But just as they breathed a sigh of relief and were preparing to continue, they found a dead end ahead. Faced with a desperate situation, they knew there was no way back and planned to return the same way. However, at this moment, Li Xiaojie and others rushed forward like wolves, surrounding them in groups. Li Xiaojie glared fiercely at Linghao and sneered, run, Haozi, keep running. After speaking, he suddenly extended a hand and tightly grasped Linghao's neck. Upon seeing this, Yuxuan angrily wanted to step forward to rescue him, but was firmly held down by several of Li Xiaojie's subordinates. Li Xiaojie continued to roar, you two bastards, remember the punches you punched me on the bridge of my nose last time. It's still an excruciating pain. This account hasn't been settled yet. Now that I see you, I want to run away. What's wrong? Are you guilty of being a thief? You two despicable mice, love heroes to save beauty, right? Today, I'll let you save enough. Linghao struggled and cursed, I grass your mother. That's my woman. If you dare to bully them, I'll see you once and hit you once. However, before he could finish speaking, Li Xiaojie punched him heavily in the stomach. Linghao coughed violently a few times, but managed to hold back the heart-wrenching pain. Upon seeing this, Yuxuan was extremely angry and spat at Li Xiaojie, cursing, Li Xiaojie, you bastard. Don't bully a girl if you have a seed, will you bully a little more? You're just a coward. Li Xiaojie roared angrily, okay. Today, I will teach you two despicable bastards a lesson. After finishing speaking, he slapped Yuxuan hard in the face. Then, he turned around and grabbed Linghao's collar, saying viciously, last time you punched me in the nose, how many days have passed since that day? You figure it out for yourself. After that, I'll hit you as many times as I can. I insist on breaking the bridge of your noses. The medical expenses will be treated as the losses you caused me before. Ha ha ha. Linghao gritted his teeth and could only close his eyes, feeling very scared. Strangely, at this moment, the crystal source in Linghao's pocket suddenly shone, and even a heat was about to rush up in Linghao's body. This feeling became stronger and stronger. Gradually, in an instant, Linghao felt full of strength, breaking free from the constraints of his younger brothers. Looking around, he felt that the movements of the whole world had slowed down, perhaps because his own speed had increased. Li Xiaojie was about to punch, but in Linghao's eyes, his punching speed slowed down 10 times like in a movie. Not only Li Xiaojie, but also the whole world slowed down in Linghao's eyes. Linghao lowered his head and caught a glimpse of the sparkling crystal source in his pocket, and his heart suddenly realized. He clenched his fist and suddenly hit Li Xiaojie's chest with his backhand. Accompanied by a roar, Li Xiaojie felt as if he had been hit by a giant hammer, falling on his back and dust flying in the air. Linghao regained his senses and found that the world around him seemed to have resumed normal speed. He understood that it was not the world slowing down, but his own speed skyrocketing, and with the assistance of Jingyuan, his power continued to strengthen. The little brothers around witnessed Linghao's amazing speed and power, and were all stunned. When they regained their senses and saw their elder brother Li Xiaojie being knocked down, they rushed towards Linghao like an enraged beast. At the same time, the two thugs who originally bound Yuxuan also released him. Yuxuan was able to escape and fight alongside Linghao. After knocking down Li Xiaojie, Linghao gradually adapted to this unusual state. He imitated the moves from the martial arts movies he had watched before, using one enemy to 10, in response to the incoming younger brothers. His movements are smooth and swift, as if he were a true martial arts master. In just a few minutes, those once arrogant thugs were knocked down by him, groaning in pain. After the battle, Linghao quickly helped up Yuxuan sitting on the ground and asked about his condition with concern. Although Yuxuan felt some pain, it was not a big deal. When Yuxuan regained his composure, he exclaimed in surprise, How? Howzy, how did you do it? Shen Linghao whispered, Shoo, I'll tell you later. Linghao continued to walk towards Li Xiaojie, grabbing his collar and shouting angrily, Li Xiaojie, listen to me. I'm not the same useless person you used to bully now. If I catch you messing around with me or our classmates again, I promise, you're such a jerk. Before he could finish speaking, Linghao tightly pressed down on Li Xiaojie's right leg. Although Li Xiaojie was dissatisfied in his heart, he could only lie on the ground helplessly in the face of Linghao's powerful strength, and the pain made it impossible for him to resist. Seeing this, Yuxuan stepped forward and slapped Li Xiaojie. He scolded angrily, fuck you, how about being beaten down? Ah! You his mother. Then he wanted to continue punching Li Xiaojie in the face. However, Linghao quickly stopped him and said, all right, Xuanzi. He's already like this, and if we continue to fight, we still have to take responsibility for any casualties. Just curse a few words, don't be ignorant of this kind of dog shit. After hearing this, Yuxuan snorted coldly and said, "You don't. Well, for the sake of my brother's face, I'll spare your life today. But remember to me, stay away from us in the future, otherwise I'll see you hit you once." After speaking, the two turned around and left, leaving behind Li Xiaojie and his little brothers groaning in pain on the ground. Linghao and Yuxuan turned around and left, only a few steps away. Suddenly, Li Xiaojie's roar came from behind. "You two, if you have the guts, kill me. If you don't kill me, do you believe that I will attack those two girls? If you dare to provoke me, you will not have a good end." His voice was full of threat and arrogance. Linghao's footsteps suddenly stopped, and the flames of anger burned fiercely in his chest. He quickly turned around and rushed towards Li Xiaojie, squatting down. One hand tightly gripped Li Xiaojie's neck like a pair of iron pliers, while the other hand slammed at Li Xiaojie's head. This punch was powerful and heavy, but with the blessing of Jingyuan, Linghao did not feel any pain. The loud noise made everything around him seem to have come to a standstill. Li Xiaojie was scared out of his wits by the sudden attack. Fortunately, when he regained his senses, he realized that Linghao had only punched him next to him. He struggled to breathe, but Linghao's hands were as hard as iron, making it impossible for him to break free. Linghao's face was cold and firm, and his voice was as piercing as ice. "Remember what you said, those two, Ye's women. If you dare to touch her, my next punch will be your dog head. Ah, do you hear me?" As his words fell, he tightened his grip on Li Xiaojie's neck. Li Xiaojie's breathing became increasingly difficult, his face turned pale, and his eyes were filled with fear. He finally couldn't bear the suffocating feeling and quickly grabbed Linghao's hand, pleading for mercy in a trembling voice. "How, I was wrong. You should let go of me first." Linghao let go of his hand and grabbed his collar, shouting, "Speak up, call Howie." Li Xiaojie coughed a few times and said with difficulty, "Howie, I was wrong. Cough, I know now, I won't dare again next time." Linghao stood up and looked down at Li Xiaojie, his tone cold and firm. "Today, the new and old accounts will be settled together. If you see me in the future, get away from me. Also, if you dare to touch our sister, I will make you all die very ugly, die. 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 Look." His voice echoed in the night sky, filled with unquestionable dominance. Li Xiaojie and his younger brothers were lying on the ground, afraid to move at all. After speaking, Linghao stood up and pulled Yuxuan away together. As they drifted further away, Linghao gently wiped the sweat off his forehead and sighed, "Oh my, that was really great." Lei Yuxuan looked at Linghao with a look of admiration and exclaimed in surprise, "Sleeping trough, Brother Hao, what you just said was really handsome. Ha ha ha, I almost wanted to take my phone and record it." Upon hearing this, Linghao quickly took out the crystal source from his pocket and handed it to Yuxuan, saying, "Don't say no, don't worship me anymore. Actually, I had no choice but to do so. This crystal source is the key. You see, it's this little guy who suddenly made me so powerful." He pointed at Jingyuan, his eyes sparkling with light. Chapter 16. The Invasion of Praseodymium and Radium. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De cultivation Quatrin text. Chapter 19. Solving the Source Mystery. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De cultivation Quatrin text. Chapter 23. Setting off to explore the crystal source of lions. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Linghao and Yuxuan hurriedly returned to the community. When they arrived at their doorstep, Linghao lightly patted Yuxuan's shoulder with a hint of fear in his tone. "Yuxuan, today was really heart-wrenching. Fortunately, Wang Ju came forward in time to help me break free. Upon hearing this, Yuxuan's lips curved into a playful smile and he said, "Ha ha ha, you don't know. When you're being questioned by your classmates, Curson and your wife come knocking at your door and keep asking." Upon hearing this, Linghao raised his eyebrows slightly and asked curiously, "How did you answer Wanxi's question?" Yuxuan shrugged and said lightly, "What else can you say? Of course, I followed Wang Ju's words. But to be honest, I envy you, Linghao. Because of that crystal source, you have become that monster. Although I thought it was scary at first, upon closer inspection, that guy is indeed a bit handsome." Linghao shook his head helplessly and sighed, "What do you envy? Having this crystal source is really troublesome. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility." Upon hearing this, a hint of longing flashed in Yuxian's eyes. "But it doesn't matter. If I could have one too, I could become as powerful as you." Linghao looked at him and half-jokingly said, "Why don't you try creating one too? Maybe we can protect your Curson in the future." Upon hearing this, Yuxuan quickly waved his hand and said, "Forget it, I'll find a chance myself." The two of them looked at each other with a smile, and the atmosphere relaxed a lot. Linghao remembered something again and patted Yuxuan's shoulder. "By the way, we need to get up early the day after tomorrow." Yuxuan nodded and agreed, "No problem, it's getting late. I'll leave first." On Qingming Festival, the sunshine is warm and the breeze brushes against the face. After finishing breakfast, Linghao and Yuxian got into Chu Hao's car and drove towards the Changyang Shahu area. The car drove on the bumpy dirt road for over 2 hours and finally arrived at the Sand Lake Cemetery. Chu Hao and Yu Qi came to Grandma Ling's grave with paper money and firecrackers to pay their respects. On the other hand, Zhou Xiuan got off the car and lit a cigarette, strolled around the cemetery a few times, and then dialed a friend's phone. Linghao watched as Yu Qi knelt in front of the grave, feeling a hint of emotion in his heart. He slowly walked over to Yu Qi's side and gently comforted him. However, Ekizaki still couldn't control his emotions and instantly lay on the ground, crying softly. After a long time, he didn't get up. Linghao crouched down and spoke in a gentle and firm tone, "Qi Gu, get up first. It's okay. If you have any sadness, just say it out. Brother is here, don't worry too much." Chu Hao felt a pang of heartache as he watched this scene. He was about to come forward to comfort, but was stopped by Lei Yuxuan. "Chu Yi, let me come," he said. He ran over and helped Yueqi up with Linghao. "Haozi, let's help Chiga up together." With their help, Yueqi finally stood up. Linghao patted his shoulder and said, "Brother Qi, don't be sad. We will always be with you." Ling Yueqi stood up, tears still hanging on his cheeks. Seeing this, Linghao quickly took out a tissue from his pocket and carefully handed it to him. Yu Qi took the tissue and gratefully said, "Thank you, Linghao, Yuxuan. It's great to have brothers like you by your side." Lei Yuxuan scratched his head and smiled a bit embarrassed, I'm so sorry about what you said." At this moment, Chu Hao walked over with a joyful expression on his face. "Yueqi, come here, let me tell you some good news. Xiaoxin is coming back soon." Ling Yueqi looked surprised and said, "Ah. Is it Ruoxin?" Chu Hao nodded and smiled, "Yes, it's her." Ling Yueqi's face showed an incredulous expression, so suddenly. Why did Ruoxin suddenly want to come back? It seems like we haven't seen each other in 4 or 5 years. Chu Hao laughed heartily and explained, "It's not that I called Yang Suo to report my work before and was overheard by Xiao Xian. This little girl has sharp ears and insists on coming back. I said you're doing pretty well there, but she suddenly needs to come back because of the Jingyuan incident and needs to go through the transfer procedures. It's really troublesome." Ling Yueqi asked excitedly, "Master, do you agree?" Chu Hao sighed and said, "Oh, I'm thinking about it. This little girl is causing trouble every day, so I'll talk to Yang Suo tomorrow." As he was speaking, Zhou Xiuan ran over and excitedly said, "Old Chu, good news. My friend said that the Taoist happened to be at home and agreed to have a detailed conversation with us." Chu Hao heard this and his face lit up with joy. "Oh. Okay. After speaking, he turned around and shouted to his disciples, "Hey, get on the bus, we have to leave." Everyone got on the car one after another, and the car slowly drove into the central area of Changyangshahu. As the wheels rolled, the peripheral scenery gradually revealed the outline of the lake. Although the lake is not large, the water is clear and bottomless. Not long after, the car arrived at the small town behind the lake. The car jolted on the streets of the small town for a while before finally stopping in front of the gate of a temple. And Zhou Xiuan's friends have been waiting in front of the temple gate for a long time. Old Zhou and Chu Hao got off the car first and started talking to Zhou Xiuan's friends. After a while, Chu Hao returned to the car and said to the crowd, "Old Zhou and I will go to the temple to inquire about the situation. You should stay in the car for now. If you are really hungry, let Yuxi take you to buy some food. Don't worry about buying, and come to me for reimbursement when the time comes." Yuxi nodded and agreed, "Okay, master." After Chu Hao left, Lei Yuxuan turned his head and whispered to Bai Yuxi, "Brother Yuxi, go eat something now. I'm a bit hungry, Shen Linghao heard this and asked with a hint of sarcasm, "Did you just have breakfast and get hungry again?" Lei Yuxuan touched his stomach and responded with a smile, "It's just a 2-hour drive. I've almost digested it." Bai Yuxi nodded with a smile and said, "It's okay. Let's go, get off the car and take a look." So, Bai Yuxi led these young people to the bustling Shahu snack street. Lei Yuxuan's eyes lit up and he looked at the dazzling array of delicious food. Excitedly, he said, "Wow, there are so many delicious dishes. Look, this local chicken is particularly famous recently." Shen Linghao looked at the time and hesitated a bit. It's not even lunchtime yet. Lei Yuxuan couldn't wait. "Anyway, I'll go ask first." After a while, he walked out with a smile on his face and said, "Everyone, come in quickly. It's 10:30 now, let's wait for half an hour, and they'll have lunch." Everyone followed Lei Yuxuan into the local chicken shop and found that the environment here was indeed much better than other outdoor snack stalls. Bai Yuxi solicited everyone's opinions and said, "There are snack stalls nearby, and this one is not open-air. What do you think?" Others agreed, "Sure." At the same time, Zhou Xiuan and Chu Hao entered the temple with their friend. An elder with long beards and a fairy-like demeanor immediately approached and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat." Chu Hao politely asked, "How do you call me senior?" Zhou Xiuan's friend introduced him, "President Chu, this is Elder Fang Xing, a highly respected figure in the temple." Elder Fang Xing humbly waved his hand and said, "I dare not be fooled. Are you Chu Hao?" Chu Hao arched his hand and smiled, "That's right." Subsequently, Chu Hao explained the purpose of his visit to Elder Fang Xing. During the conversation, Chu Hao was surprised to find that this elder was actually a member of the second team of the Kang Keeper, who had been lost for a long time. As he was about to inquire about the team's situation, Elder Fang Xing sighed and said, "Unfortunately, I am the only one left in this team now. Some of them have passed away due to illness, while others have had to give up Jingyuan to support their families in order to make a living." Chu Hao took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, gently tore open a hole, and handed them to Elder Fang Xing with a deep concern in his tone. "Come on, Elder Fang, you've worked hard. Why don't you consider moving to our research institute? The environment there will be better." Elder Fang Xing smiled and waved his hand, "No need, President Chu. If I leave, who will protect this temple and the Buddha statues on my ancestors?" Chu Hao nodded in understanding and said, "Yes, it's admirable that Elder Fang is so dedicated to the inheritance of his ancestors. To get to the point, I deeply regret the matter of Jingyuan. As you said, Jingyuan was stolen a few years ago and later sank to the bottom of the lake. This Jingyuan is of great significance to the temple. Do you have any clues or speculations, Elder? Elder Fang Xing sighed and a hint of regret flashed in his eyes. Ah, that's true. After Jingyuan was stolen, although the police arrested the thief in time, Jingyuan sank to the bottom of the lake and the salvage team couldn't find it. However, a few weeks ago, the lake began to shine brightly, and I speculate that it may be the light emitted by Jingyuan. According to ancient books, the lion's Jingyuan has an orange light and a diamond-shaped appearance. I think we may have a chance to retrieve it this time. A hint of excitement flashed in Zhou Xiyuan's eyes. Since Jingyuan is shining, it will be easier for us to find it. Elder Fang, can we go to the lake together tonight to survey? If possible, can we also ask the salvage team to go together? Elder Fang Xing nodded and agreed, okay, I have contacted the salvage bureau. They will send someone to investigate tonight. If the situation is true, they will officially dispatch the salvage team. Chu Hao's face lit up with joy and he said, great. We happen to be here too, so we can assist together. Mr. Fang, we will treat you this afternoon. Thank you for providing valuable clues. Elder Fang Xing smiled and shook his head, President Chu, you don't need to be polite. I have been a vegetarian in this temple for a long time and have become accustomed to it. Moreover, I have some information that needs to be sorted out at noon, and I will pass it on to you in the afternoon about the situation of the other teams. Chu Hao saw Elder Fang Xing's persistence and no longer insisted, since that's the case, let's talk about it tonight. Elder Fang, please be busy first, and we can discuss the main matter in the afternoon. Elder Fang Xing nodded and said goodbye, okay, President Chu. Let's talk tonight, I'll go get busy first. Zhou Xiyuan nodded in understanding and said, okay, Elder Fang, take your time. Chu Hao, let's go eat first and chat while eating. By the way, I almost forgot that Yuxi and the others are still waiting outside. Chapter 28. Two-person group carrying the pot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, Zhe Wanqi is leaning against the bedside, immersed in the touching plot of the TV drama. Suddenly, the phone screen lit up and it was Linghao's video call. She frowned slightly, feeling a bit helpless, but still answered the phone gently, "What's up, Linghao?" "I'm watching a drama." "Is there anything wrong with it so late?" Linghao's voice came through the screen with a hint of apology. "I'm sorry to bother you so late. Tomorrow after school, I'll treat you to a vanilla grapefruit. The new one across from the school, I remember you said you wanted to try it before." Zhe Wanqi raised her lips with a mischievous smile and said, Linghao, if you have anything to say, just say it directly. Don't beat around the bush, is it because you haven't finished your homework and want to ask me for it?" Linghao was poked at the center of the matter and smiled awkwardly, sorry, how do you know? Haha. Zhe Wanqi chuckled lightly and said, Linghao, you always do this. I just talked to Yuxuan, and she was playing a game when she was interrupted by a phone call from Yuxuan. When she returned, the game had already ended. She said Yuxuan had not finished his homework and was looking for you. Linghao couldn't help but laugh and said, Yuxuan is going to be scolded again tomorrow. Zhe Wanqi joked, I've agreed, Linghao. Don't forget tomorrow's milk tea. Linghao quickly promised, I'm sure it's necessary, Zhe Wanqi asked again, you haven't said it yet, what homework hasn't been completed? Linghao answered truthfully, that, Chinese, mathematics, physics, biology. Zhe Wanqi said helplessly, okay, I'll take a picture for you. By the way, Linghao, why did you suddenly change your name to me Wanqi today? Don't you usually just call me by my name? Linghao said shyly, because you're so cute. Zhe Wanqi snorted softly, you're not allowed to call me that in school. Linghao responded mischievously, okay, then I'll call you wife. Zhe Wanshi pretended to be angry and said, "Ah, what? Linghao, you're getting bolder and bolder. What if my parents hear me? They've already said I'm in love." Linghao quickly begged for mercy and said, okay, I promise I won't let anyone discover it." At this moment, Shen Wenqi walked into the bedroom after taking a shower and saw Linghao and Zhe Wanshi chatting happily. Excitedly, she pounced on Linghao and rubbed his little face, saying, "Brother, we're chatting again with sister. Lol." Linghao complained softly, "Hush, you're really here at the right time, sister. My back is about to be crushed by you." Zhe Wanshi looked at Shen Wenqi and smiled in surprise, saying, "Wow, Wenqi sister, it's been a long time since we last met. Come and put some pressure on your brother, he's mischievous again." Shen Wenqi excitedly jumped onto Linghao and responded coquettishly, "Alright, Wanshi sister." Linghao pretended to beg for mercy, "Ah, I was wrong. Ancestors, let me take a shower first." The next morning, Linghao was sitting at the dining table enjoying breakfast when his phone suddenly rang. It was a group video call from Yuxuan. He hurriedly connected, only to hear a hurried voice coming from over there. "Hello, Linghao, Yuxuan, can you hear me?" Linghao replied, You can hear me. What's wrong?" Yuxuan anxiously said, "That's it. The two of us wrote our English homework in the wrong position. Lao Jiang assigned Unit 6, and we wrote Unit 5. Lei Yuxuan hurriedly suggested, "Don't worry, you probably won't be able to rewrite it now. Haozi and I have already done our English homework at school, and the notebook is in the drawer. After you go to school, you can directly change our name to yours and submit it. Haozi, do you think this is okay?" Linghao nodded and said, "Sure, you can rest assured to make the changes. Although the accuracy and handwriting may not be perfect, Lao Jiang usually stamps with just one glance and won't carefully check." Yuxuan still had some worries. "What should you do? You gave us your homework book, what should you hand in?" Yuxuan comforted, "Don't worry, you don't have to worry about the rest of the matter. Thank you for lending me your homework book yesterday, just thank you Linghao added, "Yes, it's really not possible. We were kicked out by Lao Jiang and happened to go to the restroom to get on the phone." Yuxuan laughed and said, Haozi, you kid, that's a good idea." Zhe Wanshi witnessed everything and felt a hint of helplessness in her heart. Just as she was about to speak, Lei Yuxuan quickly interrupted her and said, "Alright, let's hang up first. Yuxuan, you don't have any worries." His words revealed an unquestionable firmness. Linghao quickly comforted Wanshi and said, "Don't worry, the English class is in the afternoon. Let's help them with it first. After they finish their homework, we can help you submit it." His words were full of warmth and care. Yuxuan nodded and agreed. "Yes, we are all good friends and sisters. Don't worry." His words revealed a deep friendship. Subsequently, he quickly pulled Linghao out of the call, leaving Wanshi alone to contemplate all of this. Yuxuan regained her senses and increased her volume in an attempt to continue the conversation with Yuxuan. "Hey, Lei Yuxuan, what did you just say? Who is your sister?" However, the conversation had ended, and only her puzzled and anxious voice remained in the air. At the same time, Linghao and Yuxian hurriedly finished breakfast and rushed to school. When they arrived at the class, they found that only a few people had already arrived. Linghao looked around and saw that Wanshi and Yuxuan had not yet arrived. He whispered to Yuxuan, "Let's help them change their names first and put them on their desks, so they won't be unwilling to take our homework." His advice was full of care and consideration. Yuxuan nodded in agreement and said, "Good idea, Haozi, you're really smart. In this way, Yuxuan's liking for me will definitely double. Confessing will take it even further." His words revealed an indescribable excitement and expectation. Linghao urged with a smile, "Hurry up, let's go to the restroom after changing the name. We'll wait until the morning reading bell rings before entering." The two of them quickly took action and hurriedly rushed to the restroom after changing the name. At the moment when the morning reading bell rang, Shen and Linghao slipped into the class through the back door, stepping on the bell. English class representative Zhong Chenran hurriedly walked over and urged, "What did you two do? Where's the English homework? It's just up to you. Hurry up, I have to hand it in." Her tone revealed an indescribable sense of urgency. At this moment, Zhao Kursen and Zhe Wanxi looked anxiously at Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan, as if they were the criminals about to face trial. Lei Yuxuan felt the pressure and quickly signaled to them with his eyes not to worry. However, the English class representative Zhong Chenran had already walked over and asked seriously, "Lei Yuxuan, what are you looking at? What are you asking for?" "Homework." Shen Linghao quickly responded and sincerely said, "Brother Ran, can you tell Lao Jiang that we will send the homework over this afternoon?" Zhong Chenran sighed and looked a bit helpless. "Ah, can you two stop doing this all the time? Is it okay if you haven't brought it or haven't written it?" Lei Yuxuan begged for mercy and said, "Can you please accommodate me? We haven't brought it, so we'll go home this afternoon to get it. Brother Ran, can you tell Lao Jiang?" After speaking, Zhong Chenran reluctantly returned to his seat, picked up a stack of homework on the table, and prepared to leave. However, at this moment, English teacher Jiang Yang walked into the classroom. He said to Zhong Chenran, "Let's put the homework on the podium first. It's been hard. Classmates, because the ideological and political teacher had something to do this morning, he asked me to reschedule the class. So this morning, I started reading English in the morning and had ideological and political classes in the afternoon." Upon hearing this news, Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan couldn't help but look at each other and inwardly exclaim, "Lie down, isn't it?" Zhong Chenran turned his head to look at the two of them, but secretly rejoiced, there's a good show to watch." Teacher Jiang continued, "All right, students, be quiet. Let's start class first. Before class, I'll check my homework. Chenran, have you collected all the homework?" Zhong Chenran hesitated for a moment before replying, "Well, we still need two people's homework confiscated." Teacher Jiang's voice immediately became urgent. "Who is it again? Why can't I collect all the homework every time? This May Day holiday, I only assigned 1 day's homework, can't you still finish it?" Zhong Chen remained silent and looked at Shen Linghao helplessly. Teacher Jiang asked again, "Class representative, may I ask you a question? Who did not submit the homework?" Zhong Chenran turned around and looked directly at Teacher Jiang, saying, "Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan." Teacher Jiang's voice immediately increased by an octave, "Ah. Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan. Why are you two again? I said, you just played with it on Qingming Festival. Why don't you do your homework? Look at the scores you both got on the exam, and you still have the face not to do your homework." Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan both fell silent, their eyes fixed on Teacher Jiang, waiting for the impending punishment. Teacher Jiang's tone became increasingly urgent. "What are you two looking at? Did you not write or bring your homework? If you didn't write it, go out and write it. If you didn't bring it, ask your parents to send it over." Lei Yuxuan took a deep breath and cautiously responded, "Teacher, we didn't bring our homework book. Can we bring it over this afternoon? Then we'll hand it over to you." Teacher Jiang frowned and spoke with a hint of dissatisfaction, "You still want to give it to me in the afternoon, that's quite a beautiful idea." At this moment, Dingzhi seized the opportunity and joked, "Shen Linghao, stop pretending. You two must not have written it. Maybe you went to play with some girl during the May Day holiday." As soon as he spoke, a burst of laughter echoed in the class, and many students turned their heads to look at Zhe Wanxi. Linghao's face instantly turned ugly. He glared angrily at Dingzhi and said, "What are you talking about?" Although Zhe Wanxi and Zhao Kursen didn't care about others' discussions, they still looked at Linghao and Yuxuan with sadness. Zhao Kursen stood up, wanting to clarify the facts for Linghao and the others. However, Yuxuan was quick-witted and waved his hand repeatedly to signal Zhao Curson to remain calm. Zhe Wanshi quickly grabbed Zhao Curson and gently comforted her emotions. Teacher Zhang's face became increasingly gloomy. Quiet. Don't tell me anymore, you two. If you haven't done your homework, you two can go out with pens and homework to make up for it. If you haven't, go home and get it from me now. Alright, you can choose for yourself. Don't make me angry. Dingzhe leaned down, concealing his smile, and whispered to Li Yuha, these two guys are really unlucky. Zhong Qinran turned his head and joined them, with a teasing smile on his lips. It's really funny. They planned to bring it over this afternoon, but they didn't write it. What other explanation could there be? Dingzhe patted Zhong Qinran's shoulder, agreeing, Brother Zhong, you are really eye-catching this time. Watching Shen Linghao and Lei Yuxuan leave the classroom, Zhao Curson's heart was heavy. She buried her head and lay down on the table in sadness. Zhe Wanshi gently grasped her hand and comforted her gently, saying, Curson, don't be sad. Dingzhe and others may be speaking too much, but don't take it to heart. Linghao and Yuxuan are both men, and we should be proud of them. Zhao Curson lifted her head, tears flickering in her eyes, and said to Zhe Wanshi, Wanshi, the more I think about it now, the more I feel sorry for Yuxuan.